Read the name. Age of Darkness, the final stand. Now, go and make a cup of tea. By the time the kettle's boiled, can you still remember the name? It's a shame, because name aside, I like everything the Age of Darkness is doing. It's a survival RTS in which you are attempting to reclaim a world from hordes of monsters, a really deadly fog, and its art direction is lovely. Age of Darkness can reportedly render 7,000 units swarming on a screen at a time, which is impressive, but not as impressive as how legible is the screenshots and the trailers. It's a dark game and predominantly features green monsters soaring in great numbers against a background that different shades of green, and yet those monsters always pop and I can always pick the player units out of the crowd. They are things that weren't true for me and they are billions. There is a lot more going on too. The maps are procedural and they are randomized melees and blessings, which can give you new things to think about. For example, melees could cause a certain percentage of every soldier you train to come out as one of the monsters. There are also hero units, boss monsters, and the skill trees. Age of Darkness Final Stand is still missing a lot of features like more than a single playable hero or the full campaign. It does offer, however, a pretty clear snapshot of what the gleefully sadistic developers have in mind. At the beginning of each game, base building feels agonizingly slow and precarious, especially in light of what's to come. Do you pour resources into building defensive walls or creating more workers? Do you divert your manager stores into creating a motley band of warriors to stay off the monster of the feast that night? Or gather food and wood and hope that your hero and starting squad can keep the things under control? How far a fight from your base do you dare venture, knowing there are treasures to be had? Even as you become more powerful, the choices never become easier, and the game intentionally makes you always feel at least somewhat unprepared. At this stage of development, there are a lot of unknowns, like what the campaign will be like, how the other heroes will impact the game, and whenever the final product will onboard the player gently or not. Happily, the game offers a lot of options, for both making things easier, or for the truly masochistic more difficult. There are a lot of ways to adjust the visuals and controls as well. Speaking of the visuals, I'm sucker for dark fantasy vibes, so I really like the art of the Age of Darkness Final Stand, which looks like you get if you took Age of Empires and pass it through a goth grim dark filter. The lighting is well done, contrasting rich saturated color against deep shadows with a lot of details in the units and its structure. The orchestra score is moody and heroic by turn. For now, however, the Age of Darkness supplies just one, a fellow named Edwin, who wields a flaming sword and has the personality of Wet Noodle. A proper hero character in a game like this should feel apparently heroic. Canon lines of clinch, dialogue, and one useful line of backstory. A veteran of many expeditions into the whale. In the menu does not a hero's tales make. Right now, hero characters aren't much more in gameplay terms than upgraded mooks, and there is no incentive for trying to keep them alive. If they die in a battle, they just respawn back at base, every bit as extendable as, say, the patriarch characters in 2003 Race of Nations. Bug-like swarmers who die by the thousand and whole main ability is to simply overwhelm defense by sheer numbers and the rank and file here. It was zombies in the DR billions, it's cramping four-legged critters who look a bit like long-lost cousins of the ghoul in The Witcher 3 here. The enemy also has a boss-like units, but they are relatively few in number and defined not at all in the game's lore. They are just more cannon fodder that happen to take a few more hits from regular soldiers, but die just as easily from anything upgraded. Which brings us to base building part of base builder RTEs. Everything is you expect from the genre. There are zero risks from innovation. The main keep is the defend at all cost objective. You lose the game if it keep falls. They are barracks for making soldiers, towers for defending stationary assets, farms and lodgers, and quarries for gathering the game resources. As seems to be the norm nowadays is revive RTE's word. The game wants to be built quickly. A system is in a place where a death knight occurs every few in-game days. Enemies burst from the void at ludicrous speed, and the mode is not over until you've been killed every last of them. A demented version of the multiple mode on pinball machine with your armlines as the flippers and the zerg stand-ins at the balls. During the mode, your base suffers a random malus that may, for example, prevent your units from the healing or raise the upkeep cut such that your economy might crash while you are fighting the enemy or the other nasty tracks. Age of Darkness might get better as launch approaches, whenever launch may be. Gods know, there are more than enough titles that got launched into early access and never got finished. But is that a recommendation? Well, no. When you could play the R-Billions, which is complete experience, or wait a few weeks for Age of Empires 4, or even chase down an old copy Warcraft 3 or StarCraft, which are still great games over 20 years after they first came out. Age of Darkness Final Stand is simply not ready for prime time in its current state. There is a work to do. Of course, we'll check back and see how it's turned out a little further down the line. And who knows, maybe it will be finding one of a grade for Survive the Night. But anyway, my recommendation is those who are in love with this genre, you guys definitely have to try it. It's a 400%. 400%. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video and the information. Don't you guys forget to comment and subscribe, and also don't forget to press the button with the bells because notifications are coming. Peace.